Okay, 7.4, stress and health. The objective for today is that students will be able to discuss the theories, of stress, and how the effects of stress on both psychological and physical well-being. Okay, so this is the definition of stress, which you guys have probably already seen in your Quizlet. But I want to talk a little bit about, so stress is the physiological, so this is going to be the body, and psychological, which is the mind. So both the body's and mind's response to a condition that threatens or challenges a person and requires some form of adaptation or adjustment. So I want you to notice that stress impacts your body as well as your mind. A lot of times we think of stress as just something that is psychological, but it really does have a huge physical impact on you. So when you're under a continuous amount of stress, let's say you're taking multiple AP classes, that can impact your overall health. So it's really important to be aware of that. A stressor is going to be any stimulus that can produce stress or that produces stress. So this can be different for different people. And then stress appraisal is your appraisal of is the stressor or really stimulus a threat. General adaptation system is, let me fix this for you guys because I know you can't quite see it, but it is the predictable sequence of reaction that organisms show in response to stressors. So when you are in a stressful situation, any type of stressful situation, this is what your body goes through. So the alarm stage is going to be the first. And as you can see here, it is the first stage, and this is when you mobilize resources. So it's really quickly when your body is mobilizing all of its body resources, right? The second stage is your resistance, and this is when you cope with the stressor. And then the third and final stage is exhaustion, and this is when your reserves are depleted. And so what's important to know is that if you are in a stressful situation for long periods of time and consistently, you are consistently at this exhaustion stage, which is where your reserves are depleted, which is why this eventually is going to impact your health. Stressful life events. So there's two types of life events that we focus on when it comes to stress. The first is the catastrophic event. And really what we think of with catastrophic events is post-traumatic stress disorder. So this is a prolonged and severe stress reaction to a catastrophic event or to severe and chronic stress. So there's something important to know about post-traumatic stress disorder is that it can happen because of a catastrophic event or severe and chronic stress. So if you're under stress for a long period of time, that can also cause post-traumatic stress. And this is characterized by having flashbacks, nightmares, or intrusive memories. Women who suffer from PTSD are more likely to suffer from depression, and alcohol problems. The second type of stressful life events that we consider is going to be daily hassles. Now, when we talk about stressful life events, we talk about daily hassles and uplifts. So daily hassles are going to be little stressors, but they can cause more light or more stress than major life events. Like if you're sitting in a lot of traffic every day, this can add up over time to be a major stressor. Now, uplifts are going to be a positive experience. That in life, positive experience in life that can neutralize the effects of hassles. So the main story here is that if you have a lot of hassles, then you need to make sure you create uplifts for yourself to counterbalance the hassles. As long as you can do that, you can keep yourself in what we would call homeostasis. But if you have more hassles, then you're not going to be in homeostasis, right? So that would be hassles is equal to uplifts. Okay. Okay, so coronary heart disease is the number one cause of death and can be directly attributed to stress. But some of the risk factors for coronary heart disease are going to be a sedentary lifestyle, meaning that you just kind of sit around a lot. You're not very active. Cholesterol, which can be genetic. It can be diet, but also genetic. Cigarette smoking. And you could even add this to juuling as well. Obesity, it's just the tobacco that causes it. And family history. In addition to that, type A behavior is also a risk factor. And type A behavior are people that have a constant sense of urgency, impatience, excessive competitiveness, hostility, and anger. Now, the exact opposite of that is going to be type B behavior. And they're going to be more relaxed, easygoing approach to life, and they don't have the characteristics of what we typically see in type A behavior. Okay, so the stress's impact on disease in your immune system. So a little bit about your immune system. You have what we call lymphocytes, which are white blood cells. And this includes B and T cells, and they are the key components of your immune system. So these are your white blood cells, which are B and T cells. Then we have psychophysiological illness. This is an illness that affects your mind and your body. So that should actually be a plus sign. So mind and body illness. In psychoneuroimmunology is the field in which psychologists, biologists, and medical researchers combine their expertise to study the effects of psychological factors on the immune system. So we actually, if you see a lot of commercials for major diseases, you will see they do what they call the whole body, or they address the whole body. And that's this, right? They're trying to look at all the different factors because they know that all these factors play a role. What we know about stress in your immune system is that when somebody is under chronic stress, it causes inflammation, which will lead to depression, and cardiac disease, heart disease. We also know that stress and disease, that being under a large amount of stress, will impact your ability to recover from both cancer and AIDS. And the final part of stress is going to be your motivational conflict theories. So these are 3 theories that we deal with as adults that can cause conflict, which eventually then can lead to stress, right? So the first, approach conflict. This is a conflict arising from having to choose between 2 equally desirable alternatives. So 2 things that you want. So for many people, this might be they want to have a child, but they also want to have a career. And having both can, for some people, be very difficult and challenging. So they want both of those things. They're both desirable. And so it's which one do I want, which would be approach. So this would lead to a conflict and stress, right? Trying to determine what they want. The second is avoidance. So 2 things that you do not want, 2 undesirable alternatives. So you don't want to study, but you also don't want to fail. Again, this is going to lead to conflict and stress. And then we have finally approach avoidance conflict. And this happens when the same choice has desirable and undesirable features. So I want to go on a vacation. That's the desirable part, right? Yay, happy. But I don't have the money. And that's the sad part, right? And again, this can lead to conflict and stress. And that's it for stress and health.